Hi guys, it's Evelyn from Twin Flames 3344. If I go too long today, I think I'm going to stop the video and then start another, just because I have a lot to tell you. I have some updates. I did my mail. I have a Divine Masculine read. And if I have time, I'll do oracle cards at the end. I'll try to put timestamps too for those of you who don't want to watch all of the segments, so you know where to skip to. For those of you who don't know me, my website is twinflames3344.com, and my email as well is the same at gmail.com. And I have coaching, card reads, Reiki Master, and I do numerology, as well as I have a CD out. It's my music, piano and voice, and that's called Ashes, Twin Towers to Twin Flames. Is available on iTunes, CD Baby, Amazon, and Google Play. So that carries my third energy. It's great for bringing up stuff to heal, which we're going to talk about in some of the energies that I have from the past week. So today is, what is today? Today is March 23rd, 2018. I have a lot to tell you because I was away last week. I went to the LA area to do a lot and see a lot of people within a short period of time. I went out to Arizona to pick up my daughter, so we drove to California together to spend some time, and so that she could do those things with me in California, and then we drove back to Arizona, and then I flew home. So I'm going to get into a lot of the energies since that time. I did on the flight over to Phoenix, I actually received a channeling about Mary Magdalene, so I wanted to read that to you as well. It was very profound for me anyway, and again, for any of you who don't resonate with what I tell you, that's okay. This is my journey. This is what I'm getting. This is my download. So I think it's something you might want to hear. It definitely parallels to our lives. And so let me get going. I'm starting back at the 15th only because that's when I went on my trip. But I'm not going to go through every day's energies. The 15th, which is very interesting. The 15th is the devil energy, the day I left. Yeah, that was the day I left was the 3 of Wands. The number of the day was 2911, and it was the 15th, 315. It was the devil energy, and I had actually written on that day, idle hands is the devil's workshop. I had to clear some stuff the prior night, so I had called a friend to help me clear. And that was interesting, right before I left. Okay, so first off is a trick to bring up wounds that I think I brought up on another video recently, but I did it again, and I did this on my flight. I was bringing my little mini deck on the flight with me so I can do some card reads on the tray table on the flight. And the process that I was explaining to you was to use your opposite hand. It's really supposed to be your left hand connected to that side, the left side of your body, taking in. But I'm left-handed, so I use my right hand. And if you're feeling discomfort in your body, you actually write down what the discomfort is with your eyes closed. And I use my right hand because it's not clear when I write, which is the point. Because when you read it afterwards, it gives you messages. So when I was on the plane, I was getting nauseous, but I do get nauseous on the plane sometimes, but the initial nausea wasn't from the flight. It had started just prior to that, and some of the nausea might have been from the flight, but it wasn't all. So I was feeling into the nausea to understand what it was from. Why do I feel nausea? I always had issues with nausea growing up. Obviously I'm empathic, so I unknowingly growing up was transmuting for people. But now I'm feeling nausea. I want to know specifically what it is, why I'm feeling this way. So I closed my eyes and I wrote down the specific words describing how I feel, the nausea, and I wrote down, I wrote nauseous and sick. And I literally got, and then you translate what you wrote down. So it's not going to look clear because you're writing it with your hand that doesn't write well, unless of course you're ambidextrous and you can write well with both hands. But under nauseous, I got nuns are, no books, nun's book, ransacks, ran books, nun sobs, unable, which that's Mary Magdalene for me, man's book, and then Cain and Abel. And then for sick, I got safe, sail, idle, and aid, A-D-E, or Adi, or Addy, depending on how you're looking at that word. And under nauseous, the way I wrote it, I saw a symbol that I looked up. It translates to a kite. And then under the words I got for sick, I got a symbol that I translated as dolphin. And actually dolphin and unicorns have been coming up a lot this week. And for me, it was bringing up Mary Magdalene, because I've always been very close with her energy. And since it said Mary Magdalene unable, and safe, it's all about nuns and the Bible and Cain and Abel, you know, not being safe and being idle and needing aid, or there might actually be a person, Addie. But anyway, this, for me, it brought up something very specific, because the point that I ended up was a point right in my back, where when I had my back injury, the initial injury was lower back, but then as the year progressed, the injury from my upper back started coming out, and it felt like an iron cross, literally, in the middle of my back between my wings. So this is where it was landing, and since it was the iron cross, I felt it was very significant for me to go into the Jesus and Mary thing. And what was the real story? And so, and okay, Prime Creator, Source, God, you know, whoever you want to address. If I don't want to read cards for myself on the plane to keep me busy, and that's not really what you want me to do, tell me the story of Mary Magdalene. What's the real story? And this is after getting that iron cross. I did the under, where you feel into the discomfort, and you go under it 3 or 4 times to get to your subconscious, to get to the wounds. And that also brought up the iron cross. Okay. This was on the plane at 9:19 a.m. So I go into the read. So the first read I do, this was at 10:17. The story of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Yeah, I wasn't going back before that. Okay. So by the way, the only major arcana that came up for that read was the Magician. There were 4 wands, 2 pentacles, 3 cups, and 1 sword. There was a Queen of Wands, a King of Wands reversed, the Knight of Wands reversed, and the Page of Cups reversed. Okay, so this is the story I got. Looking back at the truth of our story, and this is from the feminine's perspective of Mary Magdalene, of our overindulgences, which equals lack of joy and celebration. We were commoners. We had no money, offers, or invites. We had to rise above aristocracy, challenged by our abilities to make magic and manifest. Because now you recall, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, twins. So parallel this to you. We had joy in helping others. I was very attractive, and he was a player surrounded by angry men. He did not trust himself enough. We all had to clear rejection, me and the angry men, because we all loved him and ultimately would be rejected by him, the idea of him. So ultimately there was love in helping others, but it did not feel that way for those closest to him. When you are in lack, you want to rush in and blame others. Rising above the pain and betrayal wasn't easy, but he was successful in that he had followers. Because we had no money, we had God. Our abilities, were a way to be surrounded by everything we wanted, but this idleness would bring depression. So we helped others to feel better, breaking bread and cheer. But wine and the good life can bring in the devil, saying hello. Soon my attractiveness was seen as being an over-emotional manipulator, and he, with wine, became weak to other women. The angry men turned on him, seeing him not as unconditional love, but as emotionally unavailable and detached now that he was getting all this attention. They wanted justice. He was too abundant. Why didn't they have his abundance? The rejection was just too much. Okay. And when I said ultimately be rejected by him, that was at 10:27. Okay, the first time was 10:17, 10:27. So all these people had heaven in their eyes and no home. The love was in the not walking away, even though emotionally unsettling, and the unraveling would be his slow motion demise, his ultimate turn for the worse, and that was 10:44. The betrayal was that Jesus chose everyone over Mary Magdalene. He could have walked away with her to be so happy in physical union, and still helped many, but chose the ultimate purge to clear the masses. Mary Magdalene understood on a soul level, but her human felt betrayed. So many would miss his presence, but she would long for him with every cell in her human body, whether he etherically returned or not. She would always be an outsider, alone even when in company, and a single mother. She was the Queen of Swords, and Spirit's connecting with me a lot here. She was the Queen of Swords, perpetually in mourning. And then I hear, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And Spirit's connecting with me. So this is at 10:56, and then at 11:01, the story after the cross. With no options, rejected and weak, never to have comforts again, I hear again, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. So Mother Mary comes to Mary, sent by God to temper her impatience. After this turn of bad luck, Mary Magdalene turned her back on spirits or wine. She didn't walk away. She stayed in her knowing and her blind faith. However, it was not blind because she knew. Centrally, she cried for 40 days and 40 nights. And by the way, 40 is the Page of Cups. And that was at 11:11. Centrally, she cried for 40 days and 40 nights to mourn his loss, challenged by the love that she'd have to transmute into spiritual love, but letting go of their burdens, his burdens, her burdens, to rise again. Now in her head and heart, her hermiting would shed light that she is everything she needs, but must rise in her power to heal and forgive, and this is at 11:17. Soon she would too rise in his name to correct injustice at 11:18. She saw herself as without growth, 11:19. She did not defend herself to the angry men. She would not rise to that occasion. Around her, she saw her lack without him, fighting all those who would come against him to clear the need to get justice in order to ascend. This was her test. No physical union. She would rise above her dishonor and the devil, her gift to him. She would no longer, and Spirit's connecting with me, she would no longer need heaven in her eyes, for they were always one. The Page of Wands would return for his Page of Cups. Perpetual inspiration meets perpetual love. And this was just the beginning. Meanwhile, the day that I'm doing this, the 15th, the day was 2911, which is the Three of Wands, reversed, looking back. My day, that day, was 55, and his was 57, which is the Ace of Swords and the Three of Swords, which translates into looking back, the story of the heartbreak of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And then the 15 is the devil and the angry men. And the cards that I had were in a triangle, in the feminine triangle, the Six of Cups, with the Page of Wands and the Page of Cups below. And remember that 40 days and 40 nights was the Page of Cups, the Divine Feminine. So this is just the beginning. That's at 11:28. This was her test I wrote at 11:22. And 28, by the way, is the Two of Wands. At 11:44, I write, God, what do you want me to know about this story? How is it that you want me to translate this into our situation? What do you want me to tell the other twins? The angry, tired man lost his crown, and the heat is now on. So much stress from the full exposure of his poor judgment, no longer bored and now cleaning up a mess. He hasn't been sleeping, no longer daydreaming with heaven in his eyes, no longer with comforts or status, challenged by abundance, the Empress to have justice. He will not offer his love to all. He will express his true passions to the injured workhorse, put out to pasture and still, or idle. He will stop spending money, that's 11:55, to win the love of others. Release the angry man to allow transformation. Rise above the heaven in your eyes to ascend. And translating this, she would not, in order for her to transform, she couldn't feed into the injustice. She had to rise above injustice. This was her gift to Jesus. Release the angry man to allow transformation. Spirit's connecting with me. Rise above the heaven in your eyes to ascend. Allow him to rise again, and that would be Easter. Without his comforts, he will find happiness and good luck without spirits or wine. Challenged by the Empress. So, and I like that it's that it's spirits. They keep calling it spirits instead of wine, because really wine was the devil, not spirits. You get it? So he was challenged by, without his comforts, he'll find happiness and good luck without wine. Challenged by the Empress. Tell your story of the King of Pentacles reversed and the Queen of Pentacles reversed, right? So they don't have their status anymore. Go out and have fun playing out in the world while he gets busy to have closure in his own justice, because he's still trying to get justice. Soon the King of Cups and Queen of Cups offer their love to each other as one love. He is shy in expressing his feelings, but she is getting over the sadness and loss of being the dark horse, the horse with no name. Clear our less than positive past. He needs to clear giving away his hours, his time, his energy, and resources for free. And the Divine Feminine has to stop giving her love away for free. In this, Mary Magdalene has justice, in her patience and her strength, in winning over dishonor and addiction, and feeling less than. As far as her depression, she stays releasing the emotion at the new moon. The rest is my story. 12:17. Dumped the old love, the past, Mary Magdalene. And on March 18, 2018, when the path will be cleared for my lobster. And I'll explain that as well. And you know the lobster mates for life. And that's the masculine energy, who's been busy making coins. In the Ace of Cups, it's the final purge of the Divine Feminine meets the rise of the bird carrying Christ's love, the Divine Masculine. God gently pushes her down to meet her Divine Masculine. I don't think I have it out here. Let me see if I can find it here. All right. So that last statement was at 12:17. And then I'm studying the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Cups card, right? Because it didn't come up upright in the read, it came up reversed. And I wanted to understand it better. So this was my drawing, because I wanted to show you what I did. I literally drew the Ace of Cups. And what do you see in that? you see, sorry, it's kind of blurry, that number one, you see the M in the cup. God's hand is pushing the feminine energy down when the masculine rises for the last time as the bird, pushing up the Christ energy, the gold coin. There's your confirmation, okay? And then down below, once, and this, we always knew this, like once, when the divine masculine rises, the divine feminine's frequency or vibration would have to lower a little bit in order to meet him, as he, and Janet used to talk about this, the bird diving, they keep diving until their death, that's how they meet, or how they mate. And here, the bird is diving for the final time and now ascending, in order for him to send into the cup that now God is gently pushing down for him to meet. And then this becomes upright as the bird now sits inside her heart. Okay? And that's at 12:55. Now I have to say, and this was personal to me, when I look at this cup upside down, number one, you have the Mary Magdalene, you have the cross and the coin for the Christ energy, right? There's little curly cues at the bottom of the cup. You know, they're just decorative. But they look like my initials, my birth initials, which are EEC. And then if you look at the clouds, they're all E's and C's. So to me, it was such a deep message. So this wasn't the end of the cup, all right? And I want to find that Ace of Cups so you see exactly what the hand looks like. So, and I'm on the plane. You know, I love getting messages on the plane because it's so clear and pure up there. There's no, you don't feel the blockages like you do down here. And I'm just outside Philadelphia, which is very dense. So my meditations aren't as good as they usually are other places, like when I was in Hawaii and in California near the ocean. It was so much better. So it definitely makes a difference. Trying to find that Ace of Cups. But anyway, it's taken me too long. Oh, here it is. All right, so here's the Ace of Cups. And this is the original Rider-Waite deck. So you see all these little curly cues. And here's the hand. And notice this hand, this exact shape and what it looks like, okay? Because I'm going to show you something else I saw on my trip. Okay? Give me just one moment. My friend just texted me because we're meeting a little bit later, and her name is Angelique, so we have an angel messaging us to confirm what we're talking about. Okay? And all right, so we have that hand. Don't forget that hand because it's going to come up again. So then I'm still on the plane, and I was just playing with myself, with, you know, for another read with the cards. And I did get who let the dogs out. And again, now Spirit was bringing this in for my specific situation. Mother Mary sings to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And my mother is Mary, and she sang with Sweet Adelines. So this was very much about paralleling the Mary story now to my personal situation. Where there are no options, it will come to you. And speaking of that, Angelique was just saying to me that I always do that. Like, so when things come up and wounds come up, or something she says doesn't resonate with me, I'll always come back the next day with the perspective on what that meant to her. So, and she likes that, and she was actually bringing that up about my process. I also got the little drummer boy that day. When we're driving, so now I'm in Phoenix. My daughter picks me up, and we're driving to the Irvine area of California. At first, the twos start at 221 to 222 on the road that day. We're driving behind plate 22211. Then we really had to go. We couldn't wait anymore, but we had to wait for the exit. There was only one exit for miles. And the exit we get to is exit 222. We get off to go to the bathroom, come back on the highway, and we're back again behind 22211 at 3:13. Around, and the numbers kept going, but I didn't write them all down going there. We got to the hotel we stayed at was called Fashion Island in Newport Beach. And of course there was an Atlas truck sitting in front of the hotel, the weight of the world upon your shoulders. And this is where the red stuff started. So we went to dinner. And the restaurant there was just at the Fashion Island is right next to a big mall there in Newport Beach. And so there, we just went to a restaurant there because we were tired from driving all day. And that restaurant we went to was called Red O. Okay, and O is source or God power. And I want to emphasize red because red will come up again too. So remember the hand and red. And it was funny too because we just stopped in Macy's real quick. We didn't have time to shop. It was already like 9 o'clock at night after we ate. But I did end up buying some underwear at Macy's. And then we watched, I forget what it was called, the Small People movie. It's with Matt Damon, where they decide if they want to be a small person or not, which was very interesting. And then we went to sleep. Before, the next day was Friday. That was the 16th. So now we have the 16th, which is the tower, and the 30, which is the day, which is the Four of Wands, right? That's like the union energy. And I'd written actually breakthroughs in union for the tower and the Four of Wands. I had plans that day for having lunch, and then I also had a dinner for my friend's mother's memorial. It was a celebration of life, not really a funeral. So at lunch, I was excited to go because I was meeting an old friend. I was going to Laguna Beach. I was meeting a twin flame there and actually bringing her together with my friend there who's actually starting a new project incorporating different modes of healing and holistic healing. And her father, who's a radiologist. So I thought it was very important to introduce my twin friend, to my other friends because they live in the same area, and how perfect is that combination. So I was excited about doing that. I'm going to Laguna Beach, and it was with my daughter, and my brother and sister were also coming up because we had a function to go to in LA together, and they also wanted to come up to see my friend Elisa because he was going to do some sessions with her. So we have this nice lunch on the beach in Laguna, and right before lunch, my daughter and I were waiting for the others to arrive. We just stop in the shop right next to the place we're going to have lunch. And first we noticed that there's a dress in the window that has an overlay on it, and there's a grasshopper or a cricket, something literally has nested itself all the way to the top of the dress. And this was a long dress, so the bug had to like come up between the layers all the way to the top, which was very funny. I'd never seen anything like that before. And it was a long red dress. And so here you go, red again. I go in the store. The only thing I like in the store is a small, and I don't usually wear smalls because they don't usually fit over my chest. And it was this perfect little red dress, which, you never find the perfect dress. There's always something wrong with it when it's the perfect color, right? And it was a small, and they had nothing else left in that dress. But I tried it on, and it fit. So I ended up buying a red dress. This is the 16th. And also, I just wanted to point out that in my 4D meditation that night, the night from the 15th to the 16th, Jesus carried me over my 4D home threshold and took care of me. It was really beautiful, actually. So we had this beautiful lunch. We took a little walk on the walk by the beach to talk, and it was great talking with my twin flame friend. It was the first time we had met in person. And then that evening, I had to get back because we had to shower, you know, and get dressed for the memorial service that we went to. And the memorial service was a friend of mine from work. I worked at University of Penn for 25 years, and she used to audit my studies. So I worked with her for 8 years doing this, so we were very close. And she had invited me to come to her mother's memorial because I had sent Reiki to her mom when she was dying of pancreatic cancer. And they were very appreciative of that because they had actually seen the changes in their mom and feeling better before she passed away every time I Reiki'd her. And this was distance Reiki, not in person. And actually I'd sent them some number codes too. They're spiritual codes you can place on the injured or you know, sick body parts. You can write them in the air or put them on tape on the, you know, so I hadn't played with that too much, so I'd sent them the codes to play with on their own to see if it helped. And they liked that too. So the one sister actually was really going to go into this kind of thing because I had totally transformed her by her experience with her mother in this. So I went to her memorial service, and it was wonderful just being with them. Their family is just so lovely and hospitable, all of them. And also she had brought over a couple other women I used to work with her, who I hadn't seen for years. So it was nice because I got to tell them a little bit about what I was going through, and they already knew me. So they were definitely open to hearing what I had to say. So here's your mission, you know. I've already put some people together in Laguna, and now I'm in Tustin, you know, getting the word out even more. And then I would go to LA the next day. And on the 16th too, a phrase that came up on the 16th was, "What have I done?" Coming from the Divine Masculine. And it's connected with the red that I'm starting to get, right? So then, let's see, we're still on the 16th. Okay. So on the night of the 16th, and we watched a movie called Lady Bird. So I love that in conjunction with the cup and the bird. When I went to sleep and I listened to Talwyn's Angel Dreams, right away, as soon as I started listening to it, I saw a little girl with wavy, long blonde hair that I didn't recognize. She was a young girl. And I was just seeing her from the back. And I meditated a little bit to try to see if I could figure out who she was, because she came in right away. But I was really tired, so I fell right to sleep. I didn't know who she was. I just remember seeing her with her long, wavy hair, and she was a thin little thing. The next day, we had to leave to go to, from Newport Beach to the LA hotel, because we had an award that I had to accept for my father. So me and 3 of my siblings were there, and my daughter, who would all accept this award for my dad. So first thing, we're packing up to leave that hotel. And so of course, you know how you always look under the beds to make sure you haven't forgotten anything or something didn't slip under the beds. And I look under my daughter's bed, there's nothing there. And I look under my bed. So I look under one end of the bed, there's a red peanut M&M under the bed. So I look under the other side of the bed, there's another peanut M&M under the masculine side of the bed. Only under my bed, nothing under Jenna's bed. And then I look under the chair, and there's an orange M&M next to a little, let's see if I have it here. Yep. This was under the chair in the room. An orange, I have the M&Ms here, the M&Ms, and then here's the little girl, little toy, that was with the orange M&M under the chair. Okay, and like violet's my favorite color, and it's pink, you know. And I'm talking on the phone with my twin friend Angelique, and I'm just laughing and cracking up as I'm finding these M&Ms under the bed, and then the little doll. And then my daughter's getting impatient with me because I'm on the phone, so she leaves the room without me, so then I feel rushed, and I end up leaving the room, and I hadn't put any of my underwear in my suitcase from the drawers, because everything else was packed up, and I didn't find anything, because I'd gone back to check. But I'd forgotten I didn't open the drawers again to take my underwear out. So I left 2 full drawers of bras and underwear in this hotel. which is funny because I don't know if I'll get it back, and I'm wondering if because I took the little toy and the M&Ms that were left, I realized that the little girl I'd seen the night before was the little girl who left these for me from the room, who was in there before. And then I wondered, well, maybe I took her toy. Maybe when I give her her toy back, I'll get my underwear back. So anyway, that was another story. I called like 3 times, and they were not helpful at all. Fashion Island, don't leave any stuff there. They were not helpful at all in getting my stuff back. I think by the 3rd day that we called them about it, they sent an email to just list what you lost. I'm like, I can't remember all that stuff, so I just gave a general description, but I'm not sure if I'll get them back, but which is okay. It's, it is what it is. So then we moved to the LA hotel. And on the road, I see 80 twice, which is my destiny number, so that's significant to me. I see 68 and then 86. And 68 is significant to me at all. That's specific to me. And then I see 223, and then I see 332, and then I saw 999, and then I saw 77 and 88, and I saw 88 twice. I see 338, which is also specific to me. 38 is my soul number, and I always used to put 3 with 38 for other reasons. But then I would see 423 and 623, and then I saw 222. And I was feeling a little nauseous. And actually I'd noted that I was a little headachy that morning. And I don't usually get headachy. So I did note it. So we get to I told you about the M&Ms and the little girl. And then I get to the new hotel. And in my new hotel, and it's 244 by the way, in my new hotel, I'm going to show you. I always take too many pictures. Alright, so this is my new hotel. And we actually were upgraded to a suite. And this is in each room by the window. It's the exact same hand as in the Ace of Cups picture. It's in both of my rooms. And then we also had 9 eyes, okay, as a picture in the room. And when I told my friend Angelique, she said she saw it as the 9 of Pentacles, which was interesting because the 9 of Pentacles is where the Divine Feminine should definitely be. Okay. So then, it was and by the way, I got TSA pre-check both ways as well. I've been getting TSA pre-check on all of my flights, and I've never requested it. So this is what happens when you travel and you allow and you're in your high frequency, okay? I kept getting heaven in their eyes in the reads that I was doing for myself when I was just entertaining myself. It kept coming back. So I didn't want to do anything that Saturday because that's when I had to talk. I just wanted to relax that day and meditate. And in this talk I was going to try to bridge some of the alternative stuff that we do, the Reiki stuff, into the mainstream medicine. I was talking to hundreds of doctors at a gala in LA. I know some of them who I knew and worked with, but a whole lot that I didn't know, and my family would be there, and they may not resonate with what I'm saying as well. So it was a big deal for me. I'd already written it down. It wasn't a long speech, but I was very calm that whole day. The night before that I first got into LA, we were at the convention center area, and we were at the Lux Hotel. My sister-in-law, now I'm there with my 3 other siblings and 2 of their wives and my daughter, and so they wanted to have dinner together that night. And we walk up the street 2 blocks from the hotel to Miro's. When she first told me, I thought she was saying mirror. And we pass building 717, 100, 888, and then we see 717 again on the way to the restaurant. And that was a very nice meal. And actually our cousin Tony met us for dinner as well, so it was a very nice dinner. So that night, I felt fine. My sister wanted my daughter to go with her to, she has a friend who's a producer in LA, and my daughter's trying to get into acting, so my sister, you know, got her to take her to see her friend so she'd meet him, which I thought was a great opportunity. But I think it was about 11 o'clock, I started feeling really sick. Like, you know, like when you get that GI bug and it all of a sudden comes over you and it's like in your face, and you definitely feel like you're going to throw up all night, you know. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to make it to the thing tomorrow night if I have this GI bug, and I'm vomiting all night because I couldn't even fall asleep because I was so sick. So about 11:30, it was just setting in. I was getting sicker and sicker. I couldn't even meditate because every time I tried to do any deep breathing, I would feel more like throwing up. And I was getting that headache, you know, and it all gets into your face and your sinuses and just all that pressure. So it was midnight, and my daughter wasn't back to the room yet, so I called her, and she was on her way back. As soon as she came back to the room, I told her how sick I was feeling, and I did try to talk to her a little bit about her meet with the producer. And as I talked to her, the nausea started to come down a little bit, but she started to get nauseous. So she was actually taking some of it away from me, and I didn't think I'd be able to fall asleep. But I actually did fall asleep, and we both woke up feeling completely fine. Because I did clear a little bit before I went to sleep, because she ended up helping me feel a little bit better when she talked to me. I guess she took on some of it for me. And we woke up fine, and I was like, wow, I am going to be able to do my talk tonight. Because I was so prepared in not being prepared to do this speech that I would have been disappointed if I didn't get to do this speech. So I woke feeling fine, and I got an email that I just noticed that morning, and I woke up the morning of the 18th, the new moon, March 18th, 2018. I woke up at 7:17, which I never wake up at that time. I woke up at 7:17, and one of the first emails I see was called Vision Healed, and it was at 4:17. And I was playing with my cards, and I'd gotten Heaven in Their Eyes again. That was around 8:14, which was also my room number there. And the Page of Cups came up again as Knowing the Truth. Jealousy for the Divine Masculine had been coming up all week. And on Sunday, I had titled my page Sunday Prayer. And I got Heaven in Their Eyes again. So then the night, I think it was the night after my speech. Maybe that's confirmation. I had seen a waif. Just like I'd seen the little girl. I just saw this wafy woman as a profile with like shoulder length hair, but very thin and wafy. And then I realized after my talk, my daughter had videotaped me from the stage because they were all sitting up on the stage while I spoke, and I realized that it was showing me. I mean, I wasn't as wafy as my vision was in my dream, but it was trying to show me, you know, that I'm fine the way I am. We go to it's 5 or 6 o'clock. We have to catch a bus. So there's coach buses coming to all the convention hotels to pick up people for the gala. So we meet on the bus, And I don't really eat candy anymore, but I hadn't had anything all day, and we were down by the gift shop, so I picked up some M&Ms, which is funny. Now I have M&Ms under my bed, but these were regular M&Ms, not the peanut ones. But MM is Mary Magdalene, so again, it's tying all of that stuff in. On the way to the gala, I pass a store with my twin's name on it, and the address of it is 5225, which is the address of my friend that I'm going to stay with the next night after the gala. And it's very similar, and it's also similar to my twin's address and my son's address, which is 2525. We also passed a lot of other, number sinks. And the gala, I was so not nervous. I was very comfortable on the bus. I wasn't thinking about it. I had my speech, and I had my glasses. That's all I needed. And we got there, and I saw a whole bunch of people I used to work with, and everybody was nice, and I wasn't attaching to any outcome, not worried about what they were thinking about me. I didn't care. I just went and I did my talk. When we sat down for dinner, the presentation for my father's award was given, and then we had been called up to the stage to sit up on the stage while he did that, and they didn't know if we were going to speak or not. So he handed the trophy to my brother and asked if he had anything to say, and he said no, and I said, no, I do. So I went up and I spoke, and I made a point to be slow and thorough, and I felt good. And it was received very well. When I went back after my speech to sit down on the stage next to my sister pointed out the fact that some people are standing up to applaud. And my sister was worried that I was going to embarrass her when I told her something about it that morning. So it was great that my sister could see the appreciation for what I had to say. My paddle at the table, because we all had paddles because there was an auction, my table was 22 and my paddle was 2211. And my daughter was 2212. And then we ended up also donating. I let my daughter put up the paddle for the $250, and that's 25 again. And my brother had done the same thing. Yeah. And what I noticed in the people who came up to me afterwards to talk to me about what I said and to say hi, some of the older doctors, the more old school people, may not have understood what I was talking about, but they were still appreciative of what I said and said it was very me. But the younger doctors who came up to me absolutely resonated with what I said, and it was really exciting to hear that, because you really heard the enthusiasm in their voices when they spoke to me about it. And the people at my table, who were former presidents of this foundation, were also asking me specifics about what I was talking about Reiki and distance healing and all that kind of stuff. So I accomplished exactly what I set out to do, trying to bridge what we're doing into mainstream medicine. And exposing to my family as well that it's okay what I'm doing, and their fields as well. My brother and his wife are both PTs and acupuncturists, and my sister's a massage therapist. So everything went really well. That was the 18th. And here the red came up again. This was still on the 18th. I got energy about someone walking away, like Scorpio energy, walking away from a Queen of Cups who's all about the money and always getting her way, like the baby. And it was funny because then the next day when I went to my friend's, she was had been having issues with her sister, so it kind of tied in with that, so it might apply to you guys as well. We ended up having lunch at Red Robin. So there's another red. Red O, Red Robin, red M&Ms, red dress, as we go off to my friends. So now we're leaving this hotel, and we're going to stay with my friend above LA for one more night before we drive back to Phoenix. The very exit we get on When we get on the highway, the very first exit, which is right there at the ramp, the on-ramp, is exit 22. And it was funny, the actual exit name was James M. Wood. So we got to my friend's, and on the way, there were so many plate sinks. I don't want to get into that, but we had a really nice time with them up there. She wanted me to do her cards, and I did her husband's cards as well, and my daughter got to meet with, their kids who they were close with. And it was just, the whole trip was just so beautiful. Within 5 days, I can't believe how much I did. Normally that would have stressed me out so much because of all, so much rushing. And I just went with it. I didn't worry, I didn't plan, I didn't need any outcomes, and everything just went perfectly. Even the TSA pre-checks. So then, well, there's more. So now we're going home from my friends. And of course we see another Atlas truck on the road. We stop at a place, the street we stopped and got off at was Lovekin Avenue. We see a Love truck. We saw on the way back, the 222s were off the hook coming there, and on the way back we were on so many different highways getting over to Route 10 finally, and everyone, as soon as I looked up, it was the exit 22. I saw exit 22 at least 3 or 4 times. Then I saw exit 222. We saw exit 11, and we saw a street exit called 22nd Street, as well as the 717s. We'd see exit 117, and then the mile marker right after it was 117. And I was flying out that night, so I just wanted to make sure I got into Phoenix on time. We actually got there a little early, so we went back to my daughter's and rested for a while before I went to the airport. And also we had snow in Philadelphia, so everyone was saying, we'd gotten alerts from the airlines, you can rebook your flight if you want to, because most of the flights are not going out. And I'm like, no, I think I'll be all right. And whatever happens, happens. I go to the airport, and I think mine was the only flight that actually took off for Philadelphia and landed. When we landed in Philadelphia, there was no snow on the ground, and it had snowed once already the prior day, but as soon as we landed, the snow began again, and it snowed the entire day. So all the other flights had been canceled, including my sister, who was flying home from San Diego. She had rescheduled her flight too, and I got TSA pre-check again. Alright. So now we're getting into home. I'm home. It's snowing all day. I slept 3 hours on the plane maybe, so I knew this day would be a bit of a wash, because I can't function very well if I don't sleep. It was March 21st, which is the world energy, and the 9 of Wands, which is about the wounded warrior. And all in my read, I was getting all these 3s and 4s, which was really emphasizing March and April. Okay. And I was getting names in the codes of the cards. I got Gita. Wasn't spelled the same way, but I had just been with my friend Gita. And then I got Nini Ray. So if that resonates with anyone knows someone who's called Nini Ray, let me know, because it's very specific. And also I got Aid, but A-D-E, like Addie. So these are the names I was getting. I also got the pushing against a wall. Like it's the divine masculine, pushing so hard, but it's like he's banging his head against the wall. And I also got the Wicked Witch is Dead. And then Addie came up with that again. I also got Ivy Sage. It's like we should be saging like crazy, like drinking tea, sage tea, like getting a lot of sage, ivy. It's very important for us to constantly clear right now. And then we have, then the 222s started up again, because I had looked at the clock at 222, and it's interesting because I don't notice the clock at home at 333 or 555, but I always end up seeing the 444s and the 222s. And then on the 21st, that night, I ended up watching a little bit of As Good as It Gets again. And right at 8:42, I noted the line where she says, "But Henry, I haven't seen him in 6 months." Like when he shows up in Paris to have their date in Paris together, but she's with her current boyfriend, and he's not aware of that yet. Because he's saying, remember we promised we would meet in Paris for our birthdays if we both still knew each other. And she's like, yeah, but you haven't reached out in 6 months. So that parallels to the twin thing for sure. Then Romeo and Juliet was on. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Refuse thy father and forget thy name, and I shall no longer be a Capulet. And jealousy, heaven in his eyes, and jealousy is coming up again for the divine masculine. And the lobster. Okay? So if you look at the, it's not in all the decks, but it's pretty standard in the moon card. I've been getting the 2 dogs on either side of the path howling at the moon, and usually I see the dogs as the twins, because there's 2 towers in that picture too. But now all of a sudden the lobster at the end of the path is not the enemy. The lobster is actually the divine masculine trying to make his way down this path with these dogs around. Okay? So there's this long path in front of the lobster, and he's trying to get there, but he's got all these obstacles. Then on the 22nd, which is yesterday, at the read I did, there were certain ages I was downloading to go back and clear, like age 3 and 6 and 10, and then the teenage years. And it was very interesting what I came up with on those years. But there was another line too, that the divine masculine feels dead inside except sexually from lover. So prior to that, he was a loving man and now left out in the snow injured. And then I was getting what happened to him the day that he hit the tree. And then I got the day the music died. Okay, so if that resonates with anyone, please let me know below in the comments. I also got at 12:12 that day, I have 2 birds on my windowsill. And I never thought of what kind of birds they were. It was a small gift that someone had given me a long, long time ago when I was living in Atlantic City. And for some reason, I was being guided to look up those birds. What kind of birds were they? And I looked up at 12:12, and I got an egret, which was described as pure white, a little green around the eyes, slightly down-curved mouth or bill, and then his toes wrap around the branch for better balance. And he eats lizards. Nests in colonies and has blue-green eggs, and I have blue-green eyes. And then at 12:21, I looked again because it was really flamingos that I was going to look for when I found the egrets. And when the first thing at the top of the list for flamingos is not the bird, but actually the Flamingos, the band, singing "I Only Have Eyes for You" at 12:21. I also got that in seeing a lot of dark cards and noticing that there's one card, the 5 of Pentacles in the one deck, that looks like the Hermit, only there's no light. And then I remember, though, there's snow and ice in the picture. There is light, and I was reminded it doesn't matter, and Spirit's connecting with me, how small the light is. Don't forget, where there is light, there is a way out. And that was so important. I was actually telling my son that yesterday when he asked me to do his cards yesterday. Dolphins and unicorns again came up. And please, if any of these things resonate about the day the divine masculine hit the tree, the day the music died, the flamingos, and I only have eyes for you, and the egret, please comment below. And the ages. When I got into ages, I went back to those specific ages. 3 was, you know, I had just settled into a new home. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was very difficult with my mother. She was being challenged with my 2 brothers and then me. I was the third. She really wanted a little girl, and then she had 3 of us, and she was by herself most of the time because my father was working all the time. So that was very challenging for her. So we moved to our new home. I was 3 at the new home. And then at age 6, I was very sick. That was the year I had I mean, they didn't know if I was going to survive. I was really sick with stomach issues. And I even remember after that, I had like chronic diarrhea for a long time. I remember being on the jungle gym when I was young, having to wear rubber pants all the time. And then when we moved, when I was 8, I was still wearing rubber pants. So it went on for a few years. And that's, you know, that's a huge purge, right? And then at age 10, which was another age I was called to, there was 2 things I remembered right off the top of my head. One was that we had an AFS student stay at my house. His name was Samantpan, and he was 18 at the time, and he had told me, because I was 10, when I turned 18, he'd come back to marry me. And he never did. So there's another abandonment, right, to a 10-year-old. And also that year was the year I ran away from home because my mom had asked me to watch the steak in the oven, and I forgot, and it burned. And then all through dinner, they were all teasing me constantly about the burned steak that they were eating. And so after dinner, I got a yogurt out of the fridge, and I left. I just left and walked to my gymnastics practice, which was 5 miles away in the night. And you know, when you're mad, nothing's scary. So I walked like 5 miles to my practice that night, and they finally found me, but not happy about it, that's for sure. So those were 2 very significant things. And then 16 was the other age that came up, and of course that's 16, sweet 16 and everything. And my father also took me to the Bellevue Stratford for a special dinner, just me and him, and he took me to a show that night. But that's where Legionnaires was. And then I've also seen a life of being a leper, so there's a parallel there. So I was being guided to look back at these ages for certain reasons. I also received a realization that maybe that work for me equals no love, because maybe I worked with my father for so long because I was seeking his approval, because he never really got who I was. He loved me and he tried to hear what I had to say, but he didn't get it, what I was telling him. He didn't agree with things. He didn't believe in what I believed in. And so working with him was the only way I could get close to him. But that work equaled no love to me. And that all the men in my life were logical men who don't express their feelings and drain my life force because I'm seeking their approval. And then I got, and this was still on the 22nd, no one puts baby in the corner. Instead of looking to the North Star, be the North Star, be the light, even if you need a pacifier. Speak to the world, be still, and find inspiration and growth. Don't rush. Find joy in limbo. And 3 queens came up yesterday. And 3 knights. 3 knights and 3 queens. And so 3 knights from yesterday. Today, again, you'll see 2 knights comes up. So 3 knights, and now today's 2 knights. So that would be, today's the 23rd, so that would end on the 25th. So something on the 25th. nights, let's see. Okay. I also looked back because the invitation to this gala I had received on January 5th, so I looked back to see what was going on around the 5th. What did I do to draw in this invitation that would bring this really beautiful 5 days for me? And it was in the midst of when I'd been guided to go to a cathedral near me called Bernathen Cathedral for 12 days. On December 27th, I'd been guided to do that for 12 days, which just ended up ending on January 7th, which was a Sunday. That had happened, and I met my friend Angelique that week. She had requested an appointment on the 4th. And then it was also the same day I had called Fox Chase Cancer Center to ask about Reiki for someone there. Someone at my gym wanted to learn Reiki, or was in the midst of getting her Reiki master, and I had heard about them accepting Reiki. Actually, the patients insisting on Reiki at Fox Chase Cancer Center. So I told her about this, and she had asked if I'd find out. I didn't know if they paid or not, which they don't. But I wanted to get the information back to her. So I called and I talked to Darren at Fox Chase, who leads the Reiki for the Cancer Center, because they have all these volunteer Reiki masters to help the cancer patients and other patients. I found out that Darren, who was an IT background, was teaching all the nurses and techs there, Reiki, so that they could help all their patients. I thought it was wonderful. And it was telling me about University of Penn's Reiki as well, which I wasn't even aware of, and I was there for 25 years. The Hangman had been coming up that day on the 5th of January, and Intimacy, Truth, and Jealousy. And Patience and Faith had been coming up, and that's coming up again a lot. Because those are the two big things, surrendering, being patient and having faith. I saw The Vanishing. I was watching that for a little bit. It's a strange movie. I didn't watch the whole thing. But just that it was called The Vanishing. That was from 1993. And I wrote this down at 8:08. And then there was a movie which I also didn't watch, which was very strange. It had Madonna in it, which is profound, right? It was called Swept Away, and that was at 8:42. I wrote this down. And Madonna, again, because I just said that the bird ate lizards. The guy Guido, and I was getting Guida as one of my names too, was referring to Madonna as a lizard, as in the role that she was playing in this movie. So here the lizard comes up again, which I thought was pretty funny that it was Madonna. And then Madonna having that name, Madonna. And also, I'd look back on January 5th, the 2222 started coming up a lot. That's when it started. So these past few months, it's been coming up a lot for me, the 2222. There was one day I had at 2:22, my mail was 2222. And then it was like covered my whole trip, so it's very significant. And then last night, the other two I didn't watch. Then I bought I, Tanya, because I wanted to see the Tanya Harding movie, and they really made you feel bad for her. It was an interesting movie. So then it comes to today. And so I'm definitely going to start something new for the cards, because this is already an hour, so I'll title it something different. And I'm going to stop now to go into the read stuff with the energies of today. And the mail headings, I'll do that on the next video. Okay, so this will be 1 of 2, and then there'll be 2 of 2. Okay? And Yeah, I guess I can get you on the next one.